Very warm welcome to our webinar with the topic Restart Behind the Scenes. Before starting, let me just quickly tell you about our webinar code. You may already know it. If you have any questions, please post them in the question and answer section of the Blue Jeans app, and we will come to them at the end of the webinar. So I'd like to introduce our panelists today, which are our colleagues, Iulia, Necula, ITTF CEO's Office Projects Director, Stephen Duckitt, the WTT Event Strategy Director, Matt Pound, the ITTF Marketing Director and WTT Board Director, and Gabor Felegyi, ITTF Competitions Director. Gabor unfortunately has slight issues, so he will be joining us in a bit. But all others, hi and welcome, and thank you so much for joining today and sharing your experience with us.
Hello, everyone.
And also, of course, hi, Massimo Costantini, our ITTF High Performance Elite Coach. Hi, Max. Welcome back to 2021.
Hello. Thank you, Dora, and thanks to our guests today, our colleagues, and for this first webinar. We want to start with the restart. So we want to go a little bit back and talk with some of the really true protagonists of that incredible time in China, which we didn't see them. Nobody saw them. They worked behind, that's why we call behind the scenes. They have done an unbelievable, great job. And today we want to talk with them and hear from them some of the direct experience of that incredible journey they have spent to restart our sport. So thank you very much again, Iulia, Stephen, Matt, and Gabor. Gabor will join in momentarily. And Dora, I would start immediately making a question for all of them. Going back to that November 8th, when we saw on TV on the opening match between Lili Zhang and Margarita Pezoska, and after, I don't know, maybe Lili made the point, I don't remember, and there was a sort of, emotional feeling where you were there and, celebrate that moment after how many days, I don't remember. So can you share with us, it's a rotative question, so maybe we can start with Matt and get some feeling of that moment. Matt.
Thanks, Max, and hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here. So before I get to that moment, I think we need to take a bit of step back. What was 2020? Our last event we had was in Oman in March. Then the world shut down. COVID came, and it was a disaster for all. We're all stuck at our homes. The players were stuck in their homes. No one could train. No one can travel. We had the unenviable job of contacting all our events, having to postpone, having to cancel. I was having to call all our TV broadcasters, all our sponsors, all our commercial partners, having to break contract, having to renegotiate, having to try to still get some money in the ITTF to keep the sport alive, really. So it was a lot of long days, a lot of tough conversations, and it's very sad to see no table tennis around the world, because that's our life. Our life is going to events, watching events, selling events, and the players playing an event. So for us having these conversations and being stuck at home and seeing the sport at a standstill, it was very depressing for all of us. So when the opportunity came and COVID seemed to have passed a little bit in China, we took the opportunity to see if we could take the sport back, and fortunately we could do it. It was again a lot of long conversations, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of negotiations with our Chinese friends, a lot of negotiations with our commercial partners, and of course the superstar players to bring them into China. A lot of twists and turns, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and then a lot of quarantine to actually make it happen. So to see that first point, table tennis coming back, international table tennis coming back, be live around the world. And then it was just a very emotional moment for all of us because we saw table tennis stop and then to come back, and we knew how much it meant for the players, how much it meant for the fans, and how much it meant for everyone at the ITTF to see the sport back. And it was actually a very good point, and I remember Lily won, and it was very joyous for all of us, and definitely a highlight of 2020 for sure.
How about you, Iulia? What was that moment, that feeling?
Well, just as Matt said, right? 2020 was the year that the world stopped. Basically, everything stopped. Everybody stopped. Everybody got stuck at home. So there was a lot of work behind the scenes to try to make it happen. And in this, there were in total about 8 months, I think, of no activity, of no table tennis in our case. And we as staff, we were very frustrated. We were trying to plan and think, when will this get back to life? when will the world open? When we are going to have table tennis events? When we're going to have activities? On the other hand, the players also, they couldn't practice, they couldn't train, they couldn't participate at events internationally or even nationally. So it was a quite intensive for us 8 months, because behind the scenes we did try to put pieces together and try to find a solution, and a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions with many different stakeholders. But eventually, I think once we arrived in China, and then we actually saw the first point being played, it was very exciting, very emotional. We all got very emotional and very, I don't know. For the others, I don't know how it was, but for us that were directly involved in this, it was a big achievement. And I think all of us should be proud, us as staff, ITTF as an institution, organization, and also players and coaches that took part of it. So we should be all proud that table tennis was back. Even in a time of pandemic, table tennis was able to restart, and also to be watched by millions of fans all over the world.
I mean, from the watching on the screen, the message was very clear. It was really emotional, very, very touched, I have to say. Stephen, how about from your perspective? How was that moment from you?
Well, for me, actually, a little bit different. I was actually unlucky or lucky to not actually go to Weihai for the first events of the restart bubble. So for me, I actually went straight to Macau after finishing my quarantine in Shanghai to start preparing for the event there. But of course, I was watching and checking in with the team, and as an outsider watching in and still being inside the organization, I could feel the sense of relief that everyone experienced. And of course, we had our WhatsApp and WeChat groups, and the messages going around. It made you feel like a massive achievement has been accomplished. And of course, for me, when I started with the WTT and ITTF back in March, I was stuck in Sydney. I couldn't move to Singapore because of the circuit breaker that Singapore had. And so even for me, in the first 6 or 7 months of the role, I still hadn't been to or seen an actual table tennis event live. So it was a great feeling just to see that come to life, but then also sort of a kick up the pants for me, because it meant that I really needed to start moving things along to make the Macau tournament come to life.
Great. Yeah, but starting with that competition, even you were preparing for Macau, would have given definitely strong encouragement, I guess. So that was absolutely great. Dora, I think it's my question. First question is over. Then you can keep going with the second question. We have to adjust a little bit, but please go ahead.
Well, Max, actually, I think Gabor was able to join us, so hopefully, fingers crossed, everything will be fine. But my next question would have been for Gabor and Iulia, so let's hope. So now you've talked about your feelings, and you've talked about, all the sad feelings really and emotions that were going on in 2020. But I kind of want to talk a little bit about the hard work then that went into planning the first 3 events. So what were the challenges of planning an event during a pandemic? Because, I mean, now it just seems kind of like a walk in the park to plan a normal event. But I want to ask you a little bit about the special considerations, like testing, quarantine, more staff. What do you do with the staff? You know, how do you clean? Do you clean every day? Do you clean 700 times a day? All these things that we don't talk about in normal times. So maybe Iulia, you could start off by telling me a little bit about, you know, all the work that went into planning these events.
Well, I actually hope that Gabor is also there and can join and give a feedback. It was actually it was a tremendous teamwork, and people should know that without the contribution of everyone and without the intensive work from everybody's side, this would have never been possible. I mean, we have to think about that. We need to plan in 1 month what we would usually have to plan in 6 months, probably. So these were special circumstances, but we were all very, very eager to try to make it work. And of course, we had to take into consideration a lot of things, even from the first moment that the idea of a restart series came or was communicated to us. I remember being stuck in an office with Gabor and the core competition team, and we just started to plan things, how the restart is going to look like, from the pre-event, from the first pre-event, from the quarantine time, and even the planification before arriving to China. Visas, I mean, in a pandemic time, obtaining visas is not an easy task, and fortunately, we did manage to get in 30 days all 100% success rate of visas. So that was a tremendous work. Then the transport logistics with flights canceling and actually not having available flights. So I remember sitting in this meeting room, and we started on a panel, but then we moved on the walls and start planning each part of the event, from the pre-event, during the event, what happens after the event, and so on. And there was a time when we didn't even know yet the cities, we didn't know the exact date. So yeah, it all started, but everybody with their input and feedback, we managed to put this together. And yes, of course, the COVID protocol, which probably Gabor can say more about it, that was even more special, that we had to create a new protocol for that, and keeping in mind all the testing and to ensure that everybody will be safe. And we have to say that at the end of the day, we managed to deliver a restart series in China, an international event with 0 COVID cases. So that means that the work done was good. But yes, it was very intensive, and we did talk with a lot. I mean, from the very beginning, we talked with the players, we talked with the National Association, we were in permanent contact with the local organizers and CTTA, and we had to be 24/7, let's say, and put it all together. But yeah, we managed to make it happen, and it was an unbelievable experience, and probably we one day can write a book about it. Maybe Gabor, we can talk about that and create and write a book about it. I'm sure a lot of people will be interested to read it.
Thank you. It sounds like a lot of work. So maybe Gabor, you have anything to add? Even though, I mean, from what I heard, it was a lot.
Well, thank you very much, Dora, and welcome everybody. I think Iulia just summarized pretty much all the things. The pre-restart time. Yes, it was a pretty big job, and I think it started in June, July, when we first discussed that we desperately need to restart table tennis because our players are actually at home. They are having lack of training chances. We need to bring back international table tennis. That was the first moment, and then, as Iulia just told, like, we had a lot of work from the COVID protocols, through the visas, through the flights, and of course, besides all the special bubble things, we also just needed to organize 2 World Cups and the Grand Finals there. So course, we needed to fulfill all the requirements. We needed to work with the LOCs to deliver table tennis events. And besides the table tennis events, we also needed to bring the players there. We needed to bring the staff there. Even for Kim and her guys, it was a pretty difficult task to bring the equipment there. So yeah, I heard part of the first question, the answers. I'm pretty sure some of my colleagues already highlighted that this was really a big team effort. So the competition team, the marketing, the media team, Iulia, Stephen, Kim, the Chinese LOCs, the CTTA, the Chinese Olympic Committee. We really worked like the team to make it happen. And yeah, I think we were all proud when we started the competitions and when we finished the last one in Macau, because as Iulia just said, it was a big success for all the table tennis community, like delivering 4 events in a row in 2 countries without a COVID case. It was a big thing. It was a big thing. So not much I could add. So I'm really proud of all my colleagues, and also I'm really proud of the Chinese guys who helped us deliver these things. And right now there is a very big task to use that knowledge and use that know-how, and 2021 we need to do the same thing again and again, hopefully with the same success.
I am pretty sure that you will have the same success, because I think it's very interesting how you said that you organize an event, but besides that, you basically have to do a whole different organizational structure again. And I think you put in the work and you can now build on it. So thank you very much for doing that, because thanks to this, we could restart table tennis. Max, I think you have another question regarding the experience?
Yeah. I have, many questions, but I mean, it's now it's my turn for Iulia. Talking about this really unique experience, of quarantining for 2 weeks, then spending 4 weeks in the bubbles. What were the personal challenges there for staff, players, for all the the stakeholders were physically there, and what were the positives? I mean, did they watch so many movies, or what they have done in this time? I mean, food. Tell us a little bit.
Well, it has been very challenging, and I think for all of us it was a first time. I mean, we all been put in this special circumstances, in this unique project. Let's say we took part of this unique project, and we had to deal with things for the first time ever. I mean, never before have we had to deal with quarantines. We never had to deal with the testing. We never, even with isolation, right? We did have period of isolation, but during the lockdowns, usually you're at home, you're with your family or so on. So isolation is something that is very unique and special, and it can be positive and negative, of course. I mean, everything that in usually circumstances would bother you, imagine in the quarantine would be amplified, or 100 times will bother you even more. So, and at the same time, we still had to work and deliver an event, or planning to deliver an event, and it was very hard, and probably harder than we all made our idea, and we all kind of knew that it's going to be hard, and we were really prepared with this. But going through it, it was challenging. We did. I am pretty sure all of us watch a lot of the shows, movies. We did classes or courses of something. Everybody started a new passion. We did have a daily call among ourselves, let's say as staff. We always had like an evening call to motivate ourselves and try to spend some time together, like social online time. So it was complicated for the staff, and I can imagine for players and coaches maybe even more, because they are by nature very active personalities, right? So we've talked with them, and probably we were like acting also as a support for them, because they would always like try to talk with us, and of course trying to solve or find solution for whatever they would need or request. And yeah, on the positive side though, I have to say probably during after quarantine, I think we did bond more than in usual times, and I'm pretty sure that the relations that were built between us and the players, and even the players themselves, was very good. And we learned more about them, we learned more about their problems or their situations, or we understood them more, how they're dealing with things, where they're practicing, what are their challenges in their career, or what they expect from ITTF and so on. So I think overall it was a positive experience to be able to have that time to spend with them. Of course, we were all stuck in this bubble, so you had to do something constructive with it. On the other side, also the players had the opportunity to spend more time together. They were practicing together, and it was actually nice to see and actually to build this community, or to build this family even closer. So overall, I think it was positive. I think we all probably learned a lot about ourselves. We all might have had a breakdown or two, but then, yeah, we all recovered, and we all did everything we could to make Restart a success. And yeah, we did, and it was a positive experience overall.
Yes, definitely must have been unforgettable experience and a unique situation by living there for so many different things I can understand, and it was great. Actually, it was great. So I give back the mic to Dora. Dora, you have something for Matt and Stephen, I guess.
Yes, I do. So Matt and Stephen, I'd like to hear you talk a little bit about WTT Macau, because our experience of it was one of a spectator, and it looked really amazing. Lots of new things like rule changes, camera angles, the amazing presentation looked really great, and I think you had quite massive broadcasting to, please don't hold me to it, but 140 countries, so that's quite impressive. So what was the experience and reactions of everyone involved, and what was the biggest challenge that you had either before or throughout the first event of the WTT?
Yeah, so I think we were just super excited to show the world what we've been working on the last 2 or 3 years. We've spoken a lot to all the ITTF membership, to the players, to the fans, to our commercial partners about what WTT is, what it's going to bring, and how it's going to build on the tradition and the heritage and all the great things that ITTF has done since 1926. So we were super excited to bring it off a sheet of paper, out of a concept, and show people exactly what WTT will be. We produced the event ourselves, so the model of bringing all our production in-house was for everyone to see. You saw the new camera angles, you saw the new graphics, you saw the new style of presenting our sport, also with the sport presentation and little bits and bobs also. So I think we got quite good feedback. You could see we did have broadcast of 140 countries, so a lot of new networks took up the sport. I was very happy to get some text messages from Max, who was watching on Sky Italia, who we just got our numbers for, and it looked very good. So a lot of new broadcasters got to see our sport of table tennis, which is fantastic. And it is the momentum that we are looking to bring into 2021, but in these tough circumstances. And I'll throw it over to Stephen to give a bit more about the rule changes and what we're trying to achieve. And I think he will give you a very good insight of how we brought this event to life for the first time and what's in store for us next year as well.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, obviously just some first impressions from my side as well. The whole reasoning for hosting the event in Macau was obviously to deliver a proof of concept, to be able to show that this is the new era of table tennis. This is what we want to do to the sport, to bring it up to and match other sports around the world in terms of presentation and the fan experience and the way it's presented on television, and of course also what we did for the player experience as well. So big behind the scenes improvements to what the players were able to enjoy, and how we set up the venue for them as part of that model that we want to take forward in events for 2021. But of course, obviously being a promotional showcase of what WTT will be in the future, it gave us a great opportunity to be able to play around and have a bit of fun with some event formats and see what the reaction of players and fans and broadcasters would be to some of those things. So of course, first and foremost, with the new field of play, we were able to reposition the players' benches and of course the player towel boxes, which ended up becoming sort of tactical strategy plays for a lot of players when they had the opportunity to walk and chat with their coach for a little bit longer before coming back to the table. And I think as a result of that, we saw probably a decrease in the number of players taking timeouts. And that probably helped perhaps a little bit more with the flow of the match. Of course, the changing of the game formats and the scoring in the events. One of the things that we're trying to achieve with WTT is to deliver a better quality product for everyone. So what are our fans looking to do right now? Do they want shorter matches? Do they want longer matches? Do they want variety in the way that the matches are presented? So of course that gave us the chance to trial some best of 5 and our game decider, those sudden death points at 10 all in the first 4 or the first 6 games of matches. And then of course the opportunity to trial a best of 9 final, because part of what we're looking to do with WTT matches in the future, particularly at our one table events like the Champions events or the Cup finals, is to have as standalone gender events a final only. So you would come on a Sunday for just the one match being the final, and so trialing to see whether a longer match still captures the interest of fans, what impact it has on the players from a health and sports science perspective, and then also to be able to see the broadcaster feedback. A couple of other things that we trialed in matches was the 2-minute warm-up, that having the players go to their benches first before coming to the table to try and create this sort of battle atmosphere, and then starting matches straight after the warm-up finished. All those sort of little tweaks and changes help tighten the product and the way that it can then be presented into the broadcast. So each of those little variations, and of course, probably one of the other big changes is using just one umpire for the event, and seeing how that impacted on the way that the officiating was done, trying to bring out a bit more of the umpires' personalities as a way of injecting additional personality and storyline telling into WTT, which is sort of at the crux of what we're trying to do across every element of the sport. So all of those, we did conduct a survey with the players at the end of the event, and so we've got lots of great feedback from them. A lot of key learnings also taken out of the event for us. It's not easy running a new event, particularly for me being the first ever table tennis event that I've run. So a lot of steep learning curves for me on the way that the field of play needs to be set up, the way the practice hall is set up, players picking balls before matches was something that I'd never come across before in my previous role in tennis. So all these little nuances that you used to doing in event management, when you go to implement them in a different sport, are very, very different. And so a lot of challenges for me in coming up to speed in what needs to be done, and then trying to balance, of course, those core table tennis needs against a backdrop of trying to see where we can find improvements to make positive changes that benefit everyone.
Thank you very much. That was a really good insight into this. Max, I think it's your turn again.
Yeah. Talking about the China, this question is for Matt. Well, China is China. We know very well. The media is very strong. The interest around table tennis is super high. So, Matt, how did the public welcome this series of events? The World Cup before, then the finals, then the WTT in Macau. So, what was overall the response from the country where it's China?
Yeah, so we were the first international sport to come back to China in 2020, and us being China's national sport, one of the most popular sports in China, you can imagine the fans, the media, the general public were exceptionally excited to be able to watch some international sport on their home soil, on TV, inside China, in the newspapers and on social. So CCTV, the main broadcaster inside China, over the 3 events, not including WTT Macau, which was extra, was 200 million unique people watched. So that blew other events out of the water over the last couple of years. And I can tell you, every time you turned on the TV in China, it was table tennis. So normally for a World Cup or a World Tour or our finals, you'll have 2 or 3 matches a day live, normally just when the Chinese team are playing, your Malong or Dingning, so the top matches and the semi-finals and the finals, but 99% of our matches were live. So from 10 o'clock in the morning to 10 p.m. at night. So every single player playing on the TV table was live on CCTV. So you turned on, you had this full day at the hall watching table tennis, and you would go back to your bed looking to relax a little bit. You turn on TV, and then there was more table tennis on the news, on the talkback shows. There was replays. It really went crazy. The Weibo, which is a Chinese equivalent of Twitter, every day it was in the top 5 trending terms. People just talking about table tennis. So for us, it was really amazing, and it was great to see the Chinese public as excited or more excited for us to finally see table tennis come back. Then, fortunately, in Zhengzhou, we were able to have spectators as well. So turning up to the venue the first day and seeing spectators lined for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of meters trying to get in because it was limited capacity due to COVID restrictions. It was just very heartening to watch. Then to watch table tennis with a full crowd and an atmosphere, people going crazy, people chanting the players' names, it really just showed you what was all about and why all the sacrifices that all the ITTF staff, the players, the Chinese officials, CTTA, everyone around the world made to make this event happen. It just showed it what was all about. And then also our Western social media, our Western TV, it was just, the numbers were just crazy. And it purely because, not many sports can come back at the moment. Not many sports can find such good partners as we found in China to bring the sport back. So there is not much sport on TV and people to watch and talk about. And B, it was a high level event and very high, good matches, good quality, some nice upsets, and just great having table tennis back, and the world appreciated it as well.
How many spectators were allowed to attend live? It was 2,000, 1,000, 5,000. How was the?
I think it was roughly 5,000. I think it was roughly 5,000 in Zhengzhou a day. Macau, we also had spectators, but that was a little bit less because the venue was smaller. But Zhengzhou it's a massive, massive stadium we had there. So I think it was roughly 5,000 spectators a day, and most matches were just chock-a-block.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you, Matt. Back to Dora.
Thank you, Max. Stephen, so you already touched a little bit on potential future innovations for, I think you mentioned the WTT Cup finals. But what about the upcoming events in 2021. What can we expect from WTT in 2021, starting with the Middle East Hub in Doha coming up now? Will it be quite similar to what we saw in Macau, or can we expect even more changes, more innovations?
I'd love to go with more innovations and changes for the upcoming Middle East Hub, but we of course are in an Olympic year, so part of the sort of thinking with us here across both the ITTF and WTT teams is to make sure that we're striking that right balance between pushing forward with building that quality WTT product that becomes more fan friendly and balancing that against the needs of sort of maintaining the core elements of the sport as players are still trying to qualify for the Olympics. So we're not pushing ahead with any sort of bold event structural changes for this year. We actually released on the ITTF and WTT websites today the information about the upcoming Contender Series, or what Contender Series events will look like. And I guess the biggest changes are more around the structure of the events themselves. So having more players now automatically being entered into events rather than having to play qualifying. We did make some tweaks around the length of games. So depending on the round that you're playing, matches will be best of 5 games, and then from semi-finals and finals on the best of 7 games. So again, helping with that player welfare of reducing the time that they're on court. And then I guess what WTT has been doing first and foremost is trying to understand who our table tennis fans actually are. So throughout 2020, we've been working with a couple of agencies trying to identify the key types of fans that love table tennis, but also the types of fans that love coming to events. And so we've been working with this agency to come up with what we can bring into events in terms of show presentation and sports presentation to increase the fan experience, not just when they're watching table tennis themselves, but also what happens before they get to the venue, what happens when they are at the venue, what we do outside the actual hall to improve that fan experience. And I think also what we want to be able to do now is try and obviously have events that create this main table from day one. So from what I've been able to gather in the past with the multiple table events where you have 4 or 6 or 8 tables all in a row across a big sports hall, we're trying now to sort of create one main table that where we can focus on that energy and attention and a bit more into the actual presentation of the match so that it looks better on TV. It captures the casual viewer's interest to get them to want to come and purchase tickets and spend money going to WTT events. And then, of course, I think it's also important to touch on what's happening behind the scenes. So part of the drive behind WTT, of course, is to put the players at the heart of everything that we do and creating a better positive experience for them. So looking at how we can improve event standards so that they're enjoying their experience and being able to play WTT events while also representing their nations and their continents at the various ITTF and world events that are still part and parcel of the traditions of our sport.
That's great. Thank you very much. And you actually kind of gave us a nice segue into Max's next question. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think I have Gabor was quite. So I have a question for Gabor. What are the plans for the table tennis events in 2021? How are you preparing for the Olympic qualifiers and the World Champs? And how do they fit into the wider table tennis event schedule in 2021?
Well, thank you for the question, Max. I think it's a pretty easy question because we are doing together the table tennis calendar. So the ITTF and the WTT is I would lie if I would say that we are hand in hand, but but it's more like a father-son relationship. So we are planning everything together. We plan together the Olympic qualifications. We are planning together the World Championships. We are helping each other implementing the WTT events and the ITTF events, Olympic qualifications or not. And this is actually even more true regarding the Middle East hub, because we already published this Monday that after the WTT contender and star contender events, we will organize the Asian Olympic qualification in Qatar and also the World Olympic qualification after each other. Naturally, this means that we should prepare together. So with Stephen, we are working really close with each other, trying to figure out the operations, the processes, how to bring in the players for all the events, which player will stay for the Olympic qualification, which player would like to leave after the WTT events. It's a very, very big planning, and again, just like the restart, it's a very, very big logistic task for us. But I'm sure that we will be successful organizing these 4 events in a row in Qatar. More or less, the Continental Olympic qualification schedule is published. There is only one continent which is missing. It's Oceania. We are in close contact with our friends in Oceania, and I'm pretty sure that in the next days or a week we can publish also what will happen with those quotas in Oceania, and everything else. I don't want to actually shoot everything down today, because tomorrow we are going to have another webinar where we will discuss about the details of the Olympic qualification pathways. But more or less everything is planned. Regarding the World Championships, again, it's a joint project for us. Again, we are working really closely together with Stephen on how the World Championships will look like in 2021 onwards. And I am also positive that in some weeks the table tennis community could know when and how they can play and qualify to the 2021 individual World Championships. Unfortunately, regarding Busan, the end of 2020, we needed to announce a cancellation. But yeah, unfortunately, this is the COVID time we are living in at the moment.
So now in Doha, it's planned to have again 4 events. Is it correct?
Yes, correct. It's basically 4 events.
Contender, the Asian qualification, and the world qualification.
Correct. So it's going to be one after each other. So we will start with the contender, then the star contender, and then the Asian qualification and the world qualification.
Nice. Okay, keep the mic on, because Dora has something else for you. Dora?
I do. And you already touched on, the complexities of the new event structures, but I kind of want to ask you, what are the special challenges of having to prepare 2 pinnacle events really this year, which will be quite in close succession to each other, the Olympics and the individual World Championships that you mentioned just now?
I would say that preparing for these events at the moment, I would be happy to say it's business as usual, but of course COVID is complicating things. So there are a lot of uncertainties around the Olympics. Luckily, we started working with our continental federations months ago, so we could prepare even for a little bit more troubled 2021 regarding the Olympic qualification events. Again, regarding the Olympics, I think regarding the World Championships, I think the biggest question mark is the qualification, because as everybody knows, we planned a really extended qualification procedure for our World Championships, and of course, without events or with a lot of uncertainties around the events, it's really difficult to plan how we will qualify our players to our World Championships. for the Olympics, we are keeping a really positive attitude. Although there are a lot of news in the last some days and last weeks that the pandemic situation is a bit unstable in several countries. But as I emphasized some minutes ago, we are going ahead with the Olympic qualifications, and I hope that we can meet in Tokyo in some months.
Thank you. So do I. Max, I think it's your turn again.
Max for Matt, not format, for Matt. So, Matt, talking about this new format and this event lab that we have had in Macau, which, by the way, was quite good money. Even was a test event or let's say a showcase, the first showcase of the WTT. I'm pretty sure that you have received the table tennis family has forwarded feedbacks, impressions, ideas, maybe more. What was the response from this point of view, from the innovation? We have discussed a little bit, but just what was good, what was not good from our friends and audience outside.
I can discuss a little bit about the show elements, and then Stephen can discuss a little bit about the rule innovations we brought in and the feedback on that. So I think the biggest hotly debated item that we implemented was the change of the camera angle. So it's something very simple, but something that people are not used to. So ever since the start of TV production for table tennis, the camera one angle has always been at the back, and there's always been a debate if that's the best. Should it be on the side? Should it be diagonal? So before Macau, we had our professional TV production crew. We had a lot of debate. We did a lot of testing here in Singapore, and we decided to do it from the side. The reason for that is that we thought it showed the speed of the game much better, the speed of the ball, the reflexes of the players, and a lot more of their movement. So you can gauge much better how far they are away from the table, and it shows their athleticism much, much better. So we personally loved it. We thought it was great. Our TV networks also gave us great feedback. If you read social media, it was a bit of a split. Some people love their tradition. Some people love to watch things how it's always been done. Some people love the new way it was being shown and portrayed. So that's something that you will see a lot more of in 2020, the new side-on camera angle, the show presentation, the way we sensationalize the players coming in, a lot of the music, a lot of the crowd interaction, etc. of the players, the light show, the music, that's all going to stay, because as Stephen said, we want to be having a show for our fans to really portray table tennis in a much more positive light, and rise the level of the sport much higher. Those two parts, that will definitely stay, and you'll see them in Doha and in China and the rest of the events in 2021. Stephen can go on a bit more about the athlete feedback on the specific rules that we put in place.
Thanks, Matt.
Yes. Stephen, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Max. I mean, obviously, the biggest thing for us for Macau was obviously the change of the field of play, from the rectangular to the octagonal shape, and then obviously seeing how the players would adapt to having a different dimension to play in, and then of course the big change of the black floor with the black table and the coloured lines, and the players were actually super positive in their feedback about that. So that was a reassuring thing, because we'd sort of built all of our promotional material and concepts around that color scheme, or lack of color scheme. So that was really pleasing feedback. The players enjoyed the prize money format, surprisingly. So being a more skin style, or getting paid based on win, winning matches rather than achieving a round. Obviously, in a more traditional setting, that's a little bit harder to do, but certainly something we'll look at. The other couple of things that we also tried was to enforce or ensure that the players actually stayed at their benches for the full 1 minute instead of coming back to the table more quickly. And we got good feedback from our broadcasters around that because it gave them opportunities to analyze matches, play highlights, or go to commercial breaks, so to build more content into the coverage for them. And then, of course, generally for the players, and I think the big one across a lot of people I've spoken to is the game decider points. So overall, the players were actually quite positive in that. Obviously, they got to experience the pressure and intensity of that, and I think that it showed when we had the crowd at the event as well that the fans really enjoyed the suddenness of it, for want of a better term, that this could literally go either way. And I think there was one match where it was the fourth game, and it was a sudden death point, which was also a match point. So just having that sort of created a little bit more tension and excitement in the room, and there was a couple of times where it really showcased the excitement that we can bring through WTT. So obviously we're excited about the feedback overall. I had a couple of friends that were watching both back home in Australia and some friends in New Zealand and also here in Singapore say that with the show presentation and the setup and the lighting and the way that we built the music into the matches, that we'd sort of created a bit of a nightclub or entertainment space feel. So obviously what we're trying to achieve with WTT is a product that blends sport with entertainment. So the feedback overwhelmingly was fairly positive, both from players and then also from people that both inside and outside the sport.
Yeah, great. Yes, also I have received feedback that is with the new angle, with the camera new angle, we can appreciate better, because we don't need actually the depth of the field, like in tennis. We never thought about that. So it's absolutely good to appreciate more the super speed over the table. I have one last question for Iulia, and so actually after this big bubble, that the bubble got bigger and bigger actually for some of the players. So some of them stayed in China. And we have built up together the world ITTF World Professional. So they took part to the Chinese Super League. So how did this idea came out, and how was this experience? We cooperate a little bit actually from remotely, giving advice and supporting, cheering, and so on. So, what is your feeling about that? How this idea starts?
So, firstly, and the initial thought or the initial idea was discussed during a meeting of our CEO, Steve Dainton, with the Chinese Minister of Sport. And it's good to highlight that Steve was actually the only foreign person that was able to meet with the Chinese Minister of Sport in 2020. So that kind of shows the relevance and importance of table tennis in China. So that during that discussion, the minister did ask in case there are players that would like to extend their stay in China and practice with the national team or even participate in different events, they would be welcome to do so, and they will take care of the arrangements. And it's good to remember that back in February, March, when the outbreak first started, the COVID outbreak started in China, the Chinese national team kind of got stuck away from home, and they, with the support of ITTF and the Qatar Table Tennis Association, they managed to they were offered practice conditions in Qatar, so they did spend a lot of time there, a few months, if I remember correctly. So I think this was more like a return of that favor, or try to help in the same way that ITTF did in the past. So that's how the initial idea started. And as I mentioned before, during the bubble in China, we did connected a lot more with the players. We did listen for their concerns. Some of them were struggling with practice and with playing international events or even playing competitions. So some of them did ask us if there is any possibility, especially seeing the good relationship of ITTF and CTTA, if it's possible to extend their stay and to have the opportunity to practice with the national team or even play something. So, of course, we extended that offer that was given by the Minister of Sport, and some of them were happily accepted. Others, of course, had other obligation and they had to go back home, and they had other commitments with their clubs or with the national teams and so on, or even for personal reasons. So we did manage to extend the stay of the players, and you can imagine it was not an easy task being in Macau, trying to arrange the visas and everything. So, but we are very happy that this happened, which also shows the good relationship and the new cooperation between ITTF and CTTA. Let's say it's a new era, right? 2021, it's a new era for WTT and for table tennis, but also it's a new era for this cooperation. So we also would like to thank you, because you took care of the players and you helped them in this adventure. And they're all very happy. Actually, we're in contact with them same as you are, and they're also very happy to be part of the team and actually have the chance to play as an ITTF World Professional team in the Chinese Super League, which it's considered to be one of the best events in the world, right? Or the strongest table tennis, the highest table tennis level. So yeah, I think it is an important achievement. Another positive fact, or another positive thing after restart. So connected to restart. So it's a very good first project, and let's see in the future how it will turn out to be.
Yeah, for the records, our team, ITTF World Professional, finished sixth out of nine teams competing, and unfortunately they could not get in the second stage of the tournament. But I can assure you that was an unbelievable great experience, because they trained every day with the national team. Chen Meng, Bing Ning, Zhu Yuling, all of them. So the 5 players were Chen Yiqing from Taipei, Do Hoi Kem from Hong Kong, Jion Ji from Korea, Adriana Diaz from Puerto Rico, and Lili Zhang from United States. Plus also another player from Taipei was there competing in the male Chinese league, Li Yunju. So it was really great experience, and thanks for this opportunity. It was really, really great. So thanks, Iulia, again for your contribution now. And I think it's it's already 10 p.m. for you. It's 3 p.m. for us. So I think we have one more question from the prior webinar. I would like to ask Dora to take over. Thank you. You're muted.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Max. Anyway, thank you. Khaled El Sali, the president of the Africa Table Tennis Federation, had a question about the youth calendar. And Gabor, I'd like to ask you about this. So we've been talking about the senior events quite a lot, but can you tell us a little bit about the plans for the youth events in 2021?
Yes, thank you very much for the question, Dora, and thank you very much for the question, Khaled. Really, in brief summary, we actually had a extensive bidding procedure for the youth event structure. We received a high number of bids, over 30. After evaluation, we right now created the youth calendar, I think we already emphasized that the youth events we will try to start the youth events before the Olympics. This is actually right now the plan, and maybe Stephen can also share some behind the scenes information. But I am I am maybe not making a mistake if I am saying that in the next week or in 2 weeks we are planning to publish the youth calendar for 2021. So we would like to give the chance to the continental federations and also the national associations to align themselves to this youth calendar, if it is possible at this stage of the year. Stephen?
Sure, I'll jump in. Thanks, Gabor. Yeah, as Gabor said, Tiago has been driving the development of the WTT Youth Series calendar for 2021. And of course, we had, as Gabor rightly pointed out, over 35, I think it was, bids come in for hosting both youth star contender and youth contender events. Of course, the new structure that's being implemented or rolled out in 2021. In 2020, we made a decision, given the COVID situation, to delay the start of the youth series in 2021, similar to what we determined around the seniors events by not starting before March. And then, of course, with the youth events, the intention is to start in April. COVID, of course, is a tricky beast to deal with, and we're closely monitoring the situation, but our intention is still to start the youth calendar in April. Tiago has presented that to the executive management, and it's just going through a review and approval process. So hopefully we'll be able to come back to the successful bidders. The successful bidders have been notified actually that they're approved to host events. It's just a matter of verifying the calendar and then putting the communications in place to release that information. So of course we did make some changes to the way that the events will be held this year because of COVID. So separating boys and girls events and trying to put the events as close to possible in regions so that players can travel from one event to the other without having potentially to quarantine or at least avoid border closures and those sorts of issues that COVID presents, and then obviously putting in place as many risk mitigation strategies to prevent COVID outbreaks at each of our events, both at the junior and senior level.
Great. Thank you very much. And I hope, Khaled, that answers your question. And as Max mentioned, we are coming to the end of our webinar. So I'd like to thank our panelists. Thanks a lot for taking the time to be here today and sharing your experience of the restart with us. I think it's quite clear how much thought, effort, and care you've put into this, into staging the first global table tennis events during a pandemic. And I think I speak for our entire team when I say thank you, not only for joining us today, but also for restarting table tennis. And hopefully we will be able to join in with our own activities quite soon so that great events can be complemented by great training opportunities. So thank you very much from our entire team. Also, of course, thank you. Thank you. Also, thank you to our audience. As always, we hope you enjoyed your peek behind the scenes of the table tennis restart, and join us in looking forward to more amazing events happening this year.
Thank you.
Max, I think it's your turn.
Yeah, well, just a few words again. So I'm working in the high performance unit, and I have to say that these guys behind the scenes, they have really highly performed during this bubble. So our community, table tennis community, thank you very much for what you have done. All the efforts on the field before, now, and later. It gave a lot of hopes to the table tennis community around the world, and it was amazing webinar, a lot of inside information. Thank you so much, and have a good night. Ciao.
Bye.